the weapons are like strictly better than each other.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. I don't know.
but using a ranged weapon is inherently different from using a maul. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to be somebody that wants to stay way back from combat and use a bow. And I'm not going to say, oh, I think I'm going to switch over to a maul now.
but like if you're using a whip, there's no reason to use a whip if you because it's a martial weapon if you could use them all, right?
Well,
Sure,
there's
it's
no
got
reason to
finesse.
use a whip.
Correct. I wish there was.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West. And today we're going to be talking about the new weapon mastery rules in the revised Dungeons and Dragons 2024.
It's true. I think they are simpler than you might expect. They boil down basically to being new properties for all the weapons in the game. And there aren't a lot of them, but they're all basically ways that the martial characters get to sort of be a little bit better with their axes or their daggers. They kind of give a little bit more reasons to use different stuff in combat. Big fan of the addition. I think it's like a meaningful improvement on equipment that was kind of long overdue, if I'm going to be
Okay,
honest.
um, by that you mean like just things aside from damage.
Yes. So,
Good.
like for example, the throne is a property of a weapon, right? You can throw something and has a specific range associated with it. Weapon mastery. It gives things weapon mastery properties, and those properties do things like having a throw thing. You could like cleave as an example. You can nick something, which gives you an extra dagger attack as part of a thing. We'll touch on all of them when we get into it, but
Okay.
uh, to start out, we can look at how you get weapon mastery. It's very, very simple from what I can currently understand, having read through this thing once. The martial classes, except monk, get weapon mastery. And weapon mastery basically says whenever you finish a long rest, you do some drills, you pick two weapons that you're proficient in, you gain weapon mastery with those weapons. So you can switch these out as you go through it, but you can usually will have whatever your two main weapons that you're fighting with, you'll have mastery in those and get their special properties. That's one way you get it. Is you're a paladin, you're a fighter, or you're a rogue, you're a ranger, or a barbarian. Those five get it in.
Sure.
You're a Pact of the Blade Warlock. You're like, well, I want to use the cool new weapon masteries. How do I do that? Don't you worry. There's a feat for that now. So now the weapon master feat at 4th level gives you a bump to strength or dex and mastery property. You can pick a kind of weapon. When you finish a long rest, you can switch what kind of weapon it is, and you get that thing's weapon mastery properties. So anyone can get this with a feat. The martial classes except monk start with it baked into their option. Notably, I looked through the subclasses briefly. I didn't see any that got weapon mastery associated with their subclasses. So like College of Valor, for example, doesn't come with weapon mastery, so you do need to get it as a feat. But again, martial characters or the feat, that's how you get this on your sheet. Make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, great. Let's actually talk about what these weapon mastery properties are. Most of them do something bonus in combat. There's cleave, graze, nick, push, sap, slow, topple, and vex are the current existing weapon mastery properties. All of these will somehow enhance attacking with those weapons. It's just kind of what they do. So,
That
as
sounds
an
fun.
example, yeah. If we look at a specific weapon, we can look at the dagger weapon. It has the nick mastery property. So if you're attacking with a dagger, if you don't have weapon mastery, it's just a finesse light thrown weapon. If you do have weapon mastery and you chose daggers with it, you get nick as well. And what nick says is when you make an extra attack of a light weapon, you can make attack with this as part of that action instead of as a bonus action. So normally you'd have to like attack with a short sword offhand with a dagger as a bonus action. Now, when you make that short sword attack, you can make the dagger attack as part of that same attack action, which
And
is
still
pretty
have your
cool.
bonus action
Yes.
to attack again.
Uh, I don't think so. When you make
Okay.
an extra attack of the light property, you can make it as part of the attack action instead of as a bonus action, and you
Okay.
can make this extra attack only once per turn. I'm
Okay.
not positive on the rulings of this. The game did just come out. Maybe it is the
Right.
case
Right.
where you
Right.
could offhand attack again with your bonus action. I believe it just frees up your bonus action. This
Well,
looks
that's
like a
good if
really
you've got something to do with your bonus action.
yeah, which may hey, you might get a we'll look over at Rogue. Rogue is the class that's kind of supposed to use daggers. This is a really big reason to use a dagger, right? Because now you have your
Hmm.
cunning action available to you to do whatever you want with. You can attack with a short sword, offhand that dagger, guarantee become close to guaranteeing that sneak attack damage, and then you also have your bonus action disengage or hide or dodge or whatever you want for your bonus action in that time. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Our other options we got. So we've got Cleave. Cleave is on, let's take a look. Cleave is on things like halberds. Cleave says, if you hit a creature with a melee attack roll using this weapon, you can make a melee attack roll with the weapon against a second creature within 5 feet of it. On hit, the creature takes weapons damage but doesn't take ability modifier. You can take this extra attack once per turn. So you kind of get like a free extra d10 damage to something nearby if you hit. That's kind of cool. It'll trigger some attack properties too, right? It is making a full extra attack. So if you have something like Slasher, you could get the Slasher benefits on 2 different creatures using Cleave. Kind of neat, yeah?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I remember the Cleave feat from 3rd edition, and that was one of those that never played out like I wanted to do, but I always believed in it.
I think this is actually gonna look kind of similar, but it's just extra gravy, right? It's the fact that you're just getting this for attacking with a specific kind of weapon is kind of nice.
I mean, you don't have to kill the creature though, right? The first creature.
No, you just need to make an attack against it. Or hit a creature.
That's how Cleave worked in 3rd edition. If you kill somebody, then you get to keep swinging.
Got it. This is easy to hit it.
Yeah, that's good.
In a similar vein, we have Graze. So if you attack with a weapon and miss a creature, you can deal damage equal to your ability modifier that you use to make the attack roll. So it's kind of like, it pays you. If you miss, you still get something. That's fine. Let's see. Graze is on, like, they're big, large weapons for the most part. Let me see if I can find one as an example. It's on a greatsword, which, greatsword doesn't need to be better. So now you get a little refund on miss. That's fine. Notably, every single weapon only has 1 weapon mastery property. You don't get double up. Fighter eventually gets some options, but for the most part, everything just has the 1 weapon mastery property associated with it. Graze is fine. Any strong feelings about it?
Not really, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, if you're attacking with a greatsword now, it does 3 extra damage. I like that so far we're seeing real reasons to use different weapons now, though. Like, I'd rather have Cleave on my sheet, so I'm going to take something that has maybe a d12 damage instead of 2d6, but it has Cleave. That's kind of cool. We already touched on Nick. We've got Push. If you hit a creature with this weapon, you can push the creature up to 10 feet straight away from you if it's larger or smaller. There are no limitations on this, so you can just keep smacking things backwards if it has the Push weapon mastery property,
what weapons have
pretty
that?
sweet. A Warhammer, which is normally terrible because it's versatile d8, d10 damage, but now you have a reason to use it. That's kind of neat.
Absolutely,
I like that they give you a reason to use some of these weapons that are otherwise that exciting.
Yeah, it makes your choice of weapon actually interesting.
And it also encourages you to have multiples on you, right? All the martial classes get additional weapon mastery as the game progresses, so you'll eventually have 4 weapons that have weapon mastery all at once. You'll want to switch them out. You'll want to be like, okay, there's 2 things together. I want my cleaving weapon here. Okay, you set up a spike growth, great. I'm going to switch out my Warhammer and just knock something into it. It does give you a lot more versatility in combat. I really think this has been needed, like badly needed, since the 5th edition sort of has come out. And in the update, this is great. You got a reason to decide to push instead now. We got 3 more to go. We got 3 more to go through. We got Slow. If you hit a creature with a weapon and deal damage to it, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. If it's hit by this more than once with this property, its speed reduction doesn't exceed 10 feet. So once per creature, basically per round, you can slow it by 10 feet.
And how long does that last?
Till your next turn.
Okay.
Sure. It's nice that they put this on longbows and muskets. Notably, muskets and pistols are now in the base equipment before they were expanded. They're d12 and d10 piercing damage ranged weapons. You have good reason to use them, but they have the loading property, so you can only get 1 shot around with them off, which is a decent balancing lever, I guess. But yeah, you can slow things with a musket.
These ranged weapons are the only time you're gonna want to use this anyway, so that's good.
You could use it on a whip, which whips still look really bad to me, but hey, maybe you're like, slow you, and like whip your way backwards. I don't know. That doesn't seem great, but it's a thing you could do. So yeah, those are the slow options. Like crossbows and slings also get them. I like slings getting them because you like dazing them in the head. And they're like, whoa, but it doesn't seem great. Slings still seem quite bad. That's okay. Slow definitely seems like one of the larger losers of this list. We have 2 left. We got Topple. If you hit a creature with this weapon, you save DC 8 plus your ability modifier used to make the attack roll plus your proficiency bonus. They made a general update in this edition with items. DCs of items now, you make those DCs based off of your normal dexterity or your strength, plus 8 plus proficiency bonus. Huge quality of life update for items. Topple is included here. So if a thing fails a con save against this DC, it has the prone condition. And this one has some people worried, myself included, because knocking things prone consistently is powerful.
Yeah.
They also stuck it to the maul, which does 2d6 bludgeoning damage. So, like, you now have a pretty compelling reason to hit things with a very large stick, because you could like knock it prone and then bash his brains in. That seems potentially very powerful. Like it just toggles on advantage. This one kind of feels not like the others, and like this is a uniquely powerful one compared to its competition. But hey, con saves are usually comparatively decent for monsters. Against bigger things, it's going to be a little bit more worthless. But you are adding like your strength mod to the DC, so it's going to be pretty high. I don't know. This one scares me.
Well,
And we
it's
also
it's pretty cool though.
yeah
We'll see how it looks. Um, yeah, but look, we need. You were saying before we need reasons for people to play marshals, and
yeah
give us a powerful marshal option.
true. I think the rest of these were doing a decent job at being powerful, but
Yeah,
weren't like a ubiquitous condition that was like this. Like compare this to slow. Slow looks like a joke compared to this, right? Because things have to spend their speed to get up, and this just knocks them on the ground. That's gross
that's true.
comparatively,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like those two things aren't comparable anymore. And the moment the weapons are like strictly better than each other,
yeah.
I don't
But
know.
there's, I mean,
I don't know.
but using a ranged weapon is inherently different from using a maul. Like
Yeah,
I'm not going to be somebody that wants to stay way back from combat and use a bow. I'm not going to say, oh, I think I'm going to switch over to a maul now.
but like if you're using a whip, there's no reason to use a whip if you because it's a martial weapon if you could use them all, right?
Well, there's
Sure, it's
no
got
reason to
finesse.
use a whip.
Correct. I wish there was, but
Yeah.
that's fine. This still does
Now,
make
now
more.
if whip did that and maul did slow, okay.
Yeah, I agree. That gives you sudden because that make you're tripping things, right? You're putting
Right.
this on the ground.
You're snacking around their legs and
Yeah,
pull their
and the
feet
things
out
that
from
do
under 'em.
2d6 damage don't need to be better. Their
Right.
dice is what's the reason to take them, right? Oh well, I'm gonna see a lot of mauls in my future. I have a hunch. Anyway, the last, I think I skipped Sap. So Sap says if you hit a creature with this weapon, it has disadvantage on the next attack roll before the start of your next turn. That's just a ubiquitous thing it gets. It's on spears, which is kind of neat. It's on flails, which is pretty neat. Neither of those weapons see a lot of play. It's on long swords, which is just good. People were using long swords with shields already, so now you can like do the disadvantage attack roll, use some defensive stuff. Warpick is the same boat. So I mean, Warpick looks exactly the same as long once again. But hey, you got sap on a bunch of those things, which is kind of neat.
Cool.
Yep. We end on Vex. If you hit a creature with this weapon and deal damage to it, you have advantage on your next attack roll against the creature before the end of your next turn. So it gives you a free advantage. These are like hand axes, which is pretty cool. So you like engage with a hand axe, Vex with it, and then if you can get there, you can beat them over the head with advantage. Darts get this, which is kind of neat. You reason to use darts. Short bows get this, which is pretty good. Like you just rogues plus short bow seems like a really easy 1-2 combo now. And I was like, oh, you could use dagger. Well, you could just get advantage toggled on by your short bow. So I guess there's not a huge reason to use other things on a rogue anymore. But okay, yeah, that made it to play. Rapiers get it. Blowguns and heavy hand crossbows get it. So there's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I like that. This a lot of this sounds really good for a rogue. I mean, getting advantage that's still the only thing you need for to be able to pull off a sneak attack.
If memory serves, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit cooler to have. I have a new different reason to actually get in there with daggers. It doesn't feel like there's that you're just like, oh, I was just the short bow's just. I had a cool reason to do something different, but I could just shoot things with a short bow. I don't even have to steady aim anymore. I just get advantage from taking weapon mastery on my short bow. And I just take the same action over and over again. It always has advantage now, and I'm like, okay, I guess. Yeah. Steady aim, you got
Against the
advantage.
same target.
You have advantage again, and you have advantage again. That's true. You don't hit the same target. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's not just free.
I mean, you're a rogue. There's only so many times you're going to repeat sneak attack damage on the same target.
That's true. I mean, I like that rogues are kind of aimed at being you want to keep wailing on the boss while people are dealing with other problems. A lot of the time, right, you're like the heavy damage dealer to single large 8 hit point pools. And this does play well with that specific angle, which is kind of neat.
Yep.
So that's all web mastery properties. I like them a lot. I think Topple and Vex look like they're going to be the best and the ones you're going to see the most. The one where you knock something prone or you get an auto advantage on your next attack roll against it. But there's a lot of cool stuff here too. I think Sap is pretty reasonable. It's a good little I definitely can envision martial characters actually having cool decisions to make now, where do I attack and trying to sap 4 different things, or do I just wail on one thing, right? Because normally it's just best to kill a thing. Now you do have some reasons to try and like spread out some specific weapon attacks. All the weapons are going to have a little bit different of a play pattern now. I like that a lot. The combinations of adding in one weapon master property with other things make things like spears a lot more interesting, because they are thrown, versatile, and have sap. Longswords aren't thrown, but having a little upside on spear now is a little bit of a reason to consider using it. A lot of cool stuff like that.
I even think slow is okay.
Yeah, slow on longbows, I think, is where you'd want it, right?
Yeah.
It is gonna be a way that you just like you're suppressing fire, slowing things down, nicking their ankles. I also think it's gonna sell a decent fantasy, right? People have been doing called shots a lot of the time, improvised, or kind of making stuff up with it. Now there's kind of called shots built into the base game based off what weapons do. Big fan of
What
that.
all right, with slow, all right, I myself can shoot them, slow them by 10 feet for a round. Now, if somebody else hits them, can they be slowed further, or they just get
No.
slowed once? All right.
It checks if the weapon is hit by more than once by weapons with this property. The
All right,
speed reduction doesn't
fine,
increase. It would stack with something like Ray of Frost, though. So Ray of Frost will
Yeah.
reduce it further, but it doesn't stack with other things that slow. So you can't
Right,
have like
right.
a barrage of longbow archers just incapacitating everything.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I also like that these are player driven. I have not seen the new monster manual yet, but like these are all just player abilities, and that is a good thing. I don't want necessarily to have to track my monsters also having weapon properties necessarily. You could do some cool things with them from time to time, but it is nice that these are like I like a place to say these are player powers basically, right? Quick shout out, they also should have mentioned a heavy crossbow has the push capabilities, and if you take crossbow expert, you can remove the loading quality to it, so you can just like knock things back for a bunch of times with heavy crossbows. Build your own Eldritch Blast.
Trying to envision what that looks like, and it looks like a really heavy crossbow.
Oh
like
yeah,
you're firing out logs.
Yeah, and like, well, I mean, people fly back when they get shot in the movies, right? Now you're getting
In
you get knocked
movies,
backwards, right? And now you're just taking bolt after bolt. The bolts are like cylinders. Chunking into your chest, pushing you back 10 feet. Oh yeah, I love that. That seems really cool to me.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be a lot more interesting builds. They're not gonna be optimized, I don't think, a lot of the time, but a lot, by say optimized, like best damage you could possibly do. But you're gonna be able to do your own builds with these kinds of things. You can be like, I really want to play a character that's good at using a great sword. What does that look like? And the answer is different than a character that's using a maul. Before they were the same. Before they were just great weapon masters with a reflavored weapon. Now there is a difference between the two, even when they're doing great weapon master stuff. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited to play with these.
Yeah, me too. I think they're a meaningful upgrade that Marshall have been waiting for a while. And while, again, I have a hunch we're going to see some defaulted, like, the players that are going for optimized stuff are going to be immediately going, oh, all Vex, all topple, and just using the same thing over and over again. I do think you're going to have some rewarded for pulling out and switching weapons mid-combat. I think that's a really cool design area to move into and look around in. So,
yeah, we were talking about the rogue earlier, and they've got similar things that they can swap out their sneak attack damage dice to do.
Yeah, we'll touch on rogue when we get there. I love Cunning Strike. I think it's a really great new design direction for the class. That's overdue again. This is a really easy route that they should have explored way sooner in the beta, but again, we'll touch on it later. For now, though, that's weapon mastery. I would even go as far to say, if you're playing 5th edition, you're looking to see what should I upgrade into, what should I add to my game. I do think this is a pretty easy thing. Just every martial class, just a bonus feature. You just stable it to, and then you just use the new equipment table. Equipment only really changed in major ways by getting these new props. Hard, I think, to see, okay, I already have a maul. I will check what weapon mastery property I have, and then you're done. That's the whole upgrade that you would need to do. It's pretty seamless. And if obviously you're playing a new edition, you will want to consider, well, what are my options? Which weapons should I pick? Do I want to use a trident? I have reasons to now. Do I want to use a hand axe? That's kind of, I can do hand axe engage stuff and then topple things with advantage. That sounds pretty sweet. Engage with hand axes, pull out a maul, knock things on the ground. It sounds all sweet to me. Have fun exploring it. Go nuts, team. I'm excited to play that myself.
Yeah, I call this a win for D&D 24.
Me too.
All right, that was our rundown on the new weapon mastery system and rules. Thank you, Sam, for being here, and thank you everyone for watching. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.